What's that shrine? Oh yeah, guess you wouldn't know since you've been stuck in the village. Shrines like this were built by folks so they had a place to worship Mila. But famine and other problems kind of put a damper on most Zophians' piety. Now they're mostly just home to brigands and the like. Then the woman who was taken captive must be inside.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia. Last time, we overheard some brigands talk about holding a hostage, and with Alm's strong sense of justice, we charged headfirst and took out their watchmen. This time, we enter those ruffians' hideaway, the Thieves Shrine, and see if we can save that captive woman. Thieves Shrine, a natural cavern built into a shrine to the goddess Mila. Lately, it's become a popular hangout for thieves and ruffians.
Stay away from me! I'm only the stupid watchman! I just watch things!
Exclusive to Shadows of Valentia is the best thing to happen to Fire Emblem since releasing outside of Japan. Dungeon crawling! And if you're not a fan of this feature, sorry, but get used to me praising it all the time in this Let's Play. Anyways, before exploration, we have the option to change our unit's combat order, which determines their starting positions in battle. On the right hand side of your screen, I've displayed a visual guide taken from the website Fire Emblem World of Dragons that showcases where each position is located. And this will remain consistent for every dungeon in this game. The order will never change. A good rule of thumb is to put units who need XP the most on the first 4 slots, discounting Alm's spot. Here I've put Lucas, Tobin, Cliff, and Faye in the frontmost positions, so that they can both earn supports easily and take out the enemies. Unfortunately, the unit in position 6 won't see much combat, so I've decided to slot Gray there since he doesn't really need the experience. Anyways, let's go in.
The enemy could be anywhere. We need to proceed carefully.
In dungeons, you take control of Alm and explore environments freely. If you make contact with an enemy, combat will ensue. If at any point a dungeon seems too dangerous, select Evacuate from the menu to exit the dungeon.
The dank smell of mold permeates the shrine. It's foul, like the rogues who crawl about the place. How could this house to the mother have become such a welcome haven for brigands? Who's that?
With the first strike comes its advantages. Because we took the initiative, the brigands have ever so slightly less health. And since this is the Thieves Shrine, of course the natural enemies to face are brigands. They're nothing special, but be careful of the ones that are level 3. As if your Faye and Cliff haven't leveled up in speed yet, they will get doubled by him.
Allow me. Come at me, fools!
Because dungeon encounters aren't terribly interesting, I'll be cutting out most of them and just be showing off level ups and any available support conversations I get. So, I'll see you guys at the end with the power of movie magic.
Alm's got nothing on me! Oh man, look at these muscles! Who wants to touch them? It's done. Ha! We really took it to him!
fatigue will gradually set in as you fight your way through a dungeon. Fatigued units suffer from reduced stats, even though it's just HP, so if a unit becomes fatigued, consider having them evacuate the battlefield. To recover from fatigue, try eating food items or offering provisions to a Mila idol. So if you didn't think dungeon crawling could get any cooler in this game, there's even a fatigue mechanic to add that extra sweet detail of realism. Well, that's what I would say if fatigue actually mattered in this game. Also, I have no clue how I got that first strike. But anyways, fatigue is a really weird stat. It's supposed to encourage using a lot of different units in a dungeon, rather than relying on just one juggernaut to clear everything. But this doesn't really solve the issue of just throwing one super powerful unit into the enemies. And that's due to how fatigue is calculated. Despite what many people believe, fatigue tolerance does not impact how quickly a unit gets fatigued. It's actually the HP stat, and a unit's fatigue tolerance, which is a completely hidden stat for some reason, only affects how much their HP is cut upon being tired. Whenever a unit enters battle or takes damage, their fatigue meter fills up, and once that meter has accumulated enough points to match their HP stat, the unit will become fatigued. And the problem with this system is that units with lower HP and defense, typically your lower level units, suffer the most from fatigue. And this can discourage the player from training up weaker units for a more balanced army in favor of a high HP unit that can solo the game. Ironically, fatigue does the complete opposite of what it's meant to do.
I'm getting better at reading the enemy.
But I think the biggest problem with fatigue is how easily you can cure it. Provisions are essentially infinite as long as you leave and re-enter dungeons. And giving an offering to a Mila idol completely restores the fatigue of your entire army. Yeah, it's broken, and fatigue is such a non-issue because of that. But if nothing else, I am glad that fatigue adds variety in what food items exist in the game. And a really cool detail is that certain characters actually prefer specific types of food over others, which can impact how much their gauge is restored.
Hey Tobe, how goes? It goes, I guess. Do you think you could sound a little less cheerful? I don't know, you tell me. Why did you have to... Huh? Never mind. Forget it. Wait, what did I do? Hey, look who's here.
What do you want, Tobin? Don't talk to me unless you need something.
Wow, what crawled up your armor? You know, you've been testier than usual lately. Did I do something wrong?
Nope, you're imagining it. Now how about we get back to fighting and forget all this small talk?
What? Hey, come on, Cliff, would you just...
Cliff finally gains a point in speed, so he can double Brigands now. Also, the defense level up is really useful. Of course, you can't get too lucky with your level ups in this game.
They never stood a chance.
Behind these crates is a secret passage that leads to a treasure chest. And inside that treasure chest is... an iron sword. Our first equipable weapon. and it's pretty solid. A flat +2 to attack with no speed penalty can help secure some kills in the early game. I've chosen to give this sword to Cliff. It helps patch up his low attack, and since I'm planning on making Cliff a mercenary, I want him to gain as much weapon experience with the sword as I can. And that's because the Iron Sword has exclusive access to the Wind Sweep combat art, one of the most powerful effects in Fire Emblem. Even though the sword itself is likely to get outclassed by stronger options down the line, Wind Sweep's ability to negate counterattacks can be extremely useful to set up kills. Also, the first combat art it learns, Wrath Strike, is pretty useful as well, though I'm probably not going to use it over doubling enemies. We've obtained a silver mark. These widely circulated silver coins can be used when forging weapons, though as of right now, we have no means of forging. But silver marks are extremely useful and are not that plentiful in this game, so we'll be trying to gather as much as we can in Act 1.
Just leave it to me.
I've got this.
There you are, Olm.
Hello, Faye. How's it going?
I'm doing just fine now. Seeing your face is always a bright spot in my day.
Well, I'm glad it's not a low point.
Now, shall I head back out there and slay more of your enemies for you?
Slay enemies for me? I would hope you're doing it for a better reason than just me.
Oh, is that what you want? Because I'll do it. I'll fight for any cause you desire. Just promise you'll be watching, Olm. Promise to look at me.
Faye, Look, just please be careful, alright? This ends here! I can tell I'm getting stronger.
That got their attention.
Allow me. How's that?
I was taught by the best.
We really took it to him.
Oh, and something I forgot to mention earlier was that we can actually see how fatigued our units are by this little face next to their HP bar. Tobin's a bit tired, Lucas is fine, Cliff's doing alright, Faye is not doing so hot, and Gray and Alm are cheeky because they haven't been fighting that much. If you break these barrels, we can find some leftover ale. Kinda disgusting, but free food is free food in a drought, I guess. Alongside ale, we can gather various provisions that can cure our unit's fatigue in dungeons. But I want to bring special attention to bread. It heals 10 HP like all of our other current provisions, but it can be used up to 3 times, sort of like a traditional Fire Emblem vulnerary, going from bread to leftover bread and finally bread peace. I highly recommend, if you ever need to use a provision in this game, to just use bread. And that's because the best use for food in this game is actually for selling to get more silver marks. And since bread always sells the same amount regardless of how much it's been eaten, there's no real opportunity cost for eating bread until you eat or finish the entire piece. So yeah, again, really disgusting, but in Valentia, beggars can't be choosers.
What do you scrawny little rats want? You got nerve barging in here just as I was getting to the main event. Kill 'em, boys, and be creative about it.
Finally, we face the leader of all the Brigands, the Brigand Boss, top dog among the Brigands. But despite his silly name, don't underestimate him. He has pretty respectable stats. And standing right beside him is an archer. Because of his position, a unit might have to take blows from both the Brigand Boss and the archer, which could get disastrous very fast. Also, this battle is one of 3 maps in the entire game to have a defeat the commander objective. Which, of course, means that I'm gonna rout the enemy, cause I'm greedy and want as much experience as possible.
I've got this.
For a fast clear, you would normally go down the middle lane and face the Brigand Boss head on. But to squeeze in some more support points, I've decided to split up my army into 2 squads, one going to the west and the other to the east.
Stand back. Come at me, fools!
They never learn.
Well,
Nothing personal.
thought you were clever.
I've traded over the Iron Sword to Gray, but it turned out this didn't actually matter, because Gray can 2-round the Brigands without the Iron Sword anyways.
It's nice to get stronger.
Who taught you that?
Damn, I'm good.
With some trading shenanigans, Tobin can get the Iron Sword back to Cliff, so he can earn some weapon experience.
Damn you! We could do this again.
maybe I'm imagining things.
The rest of the enemies will start moving on turn 3, and because we divided our army to the east and west, the Brigand Boss and Archer will go separate directions, making our life much easier.
Sure, why not?
Because the Archer has a 0% chance to crit, I'm not worried about Gray dying on enemy phase, so I take this hit.
What was that? Come on, you have to heal.
The Brigand Boss has a massive 34 HP stat, which will be the highest we'll see for a while.
It's done. My mind must be playing tricks on me. Saving one wench won't make this world any less of a pit.
What?
Only in Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia can your units miss a 94% hit rate, and the enemies hit a 69.
Don't worry about me. Now you hate me.
Even though Alm missed his first attack, I noticed that Lucas and Faye can actually pick up the kill, so we can take him out this turn.
You'd better heal.
Unfortunately, I overestimate how much experience Faye gets from this kill, and she just barely misses the level up.
Damn you!
It's more fun when we barely escape with our lives, right?
Aw, come on Cliff, you guys are fine.
Miss, are you alright? Say something.
Who are you? How did I get here?
You're in a shrine. Some brigands kidnapped you and took you here. Don't worry, they're gone. We dealt with them before they could do you any harm.
I see. Thank you, sir. After those ruffians seized me, I passed out. I don't want to think about it.
What's your name?
I am Silque. I hail from a priory far to the east, on the island of Novis.
So, Silque, what brings a woman of the cloth like you so far from home?
My mission? I nearly forgot. I must find a man named Sir Myson. Are we far from Ram Village?
Are you serious? Ram's our home. Sir Myson is my grandfather.
What? You're Sir Myson's grandson? May I see that mark on your left hand?
What, this? Sure. Pretty strange for a birthmark, huh? And that's not even the weirdest part. A long time ago, a girl in my village had the same mark on her hand.
So you're the one she...
Huh? What is it, Silque?
Sir Ulm, I have something for you. Here, please, take this.
All right, but what is it?
It's called Mila's Turnwheel. It's a relic that contains some of the Earth Mother's power. I believe it will be of great use to you.
Are you sure? You were supposed to give this to my grandfather, right?
No, this is definitely for you. Now that you have left your village and embarked upon an auspicious journey, the Turnwheel would become a vital tool during the trials ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you. I promise to take good care of it. By the way, how do you use it?
You don't use it. It uses you. When the time is right, the Turnwheel will give you a sign.
Okay. I'm not sure I understand, but I'll take your word.
It appears that Mother Mila already wishes to show you something.
The Turnwheel. It's glowing. What's happening? Where am I? That's Sophia Castle. This is our kingdom? What happened here? Is the deliverance too late? Ah!
Sir Ulm, what did you see?
It was so clear. Silque, it was horrible.
Be calm. What you saw in the vision is not the present. The Mother is either telling you what could be, or what once was. Her power is sight.
So the vision is something that's going to happen?
Something that could happen. If the vision was ill-boding, perhaps it was a sign. A sign that the Mother wishes for you to take action in order to prevent it. Sir Ulm, in my travels, I have witnessed the sorry state of our kingdom. With no goddess to bless them, and no king to rule, most Sophians are at a loss. And I, for one, refuse to stand by and watch them suffer. I would ask for permission to accompany you on your quest.
No.
Very well. That was not the answer I was hoping for. But I shall respect your decision.
Nah, come here, Silque. You're the best unit in the game.
Yes? Do you require my assistance?
It's a statue of Mother Mila. There's a strange air hanging over this place. Mana herbs. And besides mana herbs, we can also find Mila idols in, well, Mila Shrines. And finally, we can promote our villagers.
Welcome, child of fate. I am a servant of Mila. Present to me those who are worthy. By my master's will shall I bestow upon them new power.
Once a unit has reached a set level, they become eligible to promote to a new class. To do so, visit a Mila idol and choose the change class option from the menu. It's the moment you've all been waiting for, villager promotions. And finally, we can diversify our army a bit. Starting off with the male villagers, they have access to the Cavalier, Soldier, Mercenary, Archer, and Mage classes. And for your first playthrough, honestly, none of them are bad picks. They all have their utility. But I don't recommend making any of them a Cavalier or a Soldier. And that's because at the end of Act 1, you'll receive 2 units who fill these roles much better than your villagers can. Because of how class progression works in this game, units who promote will see their stats jump all the way to their new bases, which means that unless your villagers gain amazing level ups, you won't see much difference between your villager Cavalier and Clive, another Cavalier who joins later on. And the same goes for the Soldier class. We already have Lucas, but we'll also get another soldier named Forsyth at the same time as Clive. And comparing your villagers to these 2 units, Forsyth and Clive are likely to perform the same, if not better, than your current villagers. Next up, Mercenary. With just a quick glance, you can already see how amazing this class is. 8 skill and 10 speed is definitely something to write home about. And you may be tempted to make all 3 of your male villagers into a merc. But the problem with that is that there are only 2 equipable swords in Act 1, and we don't get the second one until the Southern Outpost. Besides that problem, you should definitely make at least 1 of your male villagers into a mercenary, as that speed stat is way too good to pass up. But the same can't be said about the Archer class. Don't get me wrong, Archers are incredibly strong in this game, with that bow range +1, and eventually bow range +2 as sniper. But I just can't recommend making one of your villagers into an archer. Unlike default swords and lances, the bow that archers come with have a terrible 70% hit rate. Another problem with making a villager into an archer is that we don't get a steel bow until much later on, and that has an even worse hit rate at 60%. By the time we get an iron bow that has decent accuracy, we'll already have another archer recruited, namely Python, who is going to perform very similarly to your villagers. However, at the end of this bleak and awful grind as an archer awaits an incredible final promotion, the Bow Knight. Combined with a forged killer bow, Bow Knights are undoubtedly the strongest units in the game. And if you're willing to slog through the slow start of a villager archer, then you'll be rewarded with perhaps the best unit in your army. Finally, mages are unique in 2 ways. Their spells have a set accuracy, which is unaffected by all terrain like forests or supply tiles. Additionally, mages target enemy resistances over physical defense. And this is an incredible asset, as a majority of enemies in this game have awful resistance. By targeting res, villager mages won't have any issues dealing damage, but their long-term viability ultimately depends on their individual spell lists. And that brings us to the villagers themselves. For this playthrough, I've decided to make Gray and Tobin into mages, and dedicate Cliff as my mercenary. As a mage, Gray has pretty poor attack speed, and I'll admit, magic isn't a very good suit for him. Gray's spell list consists of Fire, Sagittae, and Thunder, and Gray is stuck with just Fire until level 9. But I wanted to try out something different in this Let's Play, and I think Mage Gray will be a nice challenge. Wow, that is bright. Yeah, Citra does not like handling Mila idols. Anyways, moving on to Tobin, his black magic spell list is even shorter than Gray's, with only Fire and Excalibur under his belt. But in Shadows of Valentia, the quality of a unit's spells matter much more than how long their spell list is. And Excalibur is undoubtedly the best black magic in the game. Not only does Tobin learn Excalibur as early as level 6, but his high base speed also allows him to double reliably. To round off the male villagers, Cliff does an excellent job as a mercenary. I stated before that Cliff's biggest problem is his low base speed, and no other class fixes this issue better than the mercenary. Additionally, Cliff's other stats and growth rates complement the mercenary class extremely well. A 40% defense growth and 8 base res lets Cliff excel as a bulky dread fighter. And looking at that speed stat, that 60% growth rate needs no explanation. On top of the 10 base speed the mercenary class gets, Cliff can get extremely fast. Moving on to the only female villager in this game, Faye doesn't have as many classes as the male villagers, but she does have some unique options. For similar reasons as the male villagers, Cavalier isn't a great option for Faye. She'll most likely get outclassed. Pegasus Knight sounds cool in theory, and does have great endgame potential, but Alm's army doesn't really need a Pegasus Knight. Most of the terrain is just large open fields, and terrors aren't that common for Falcon Knights to see much use. Now, Cleric. Even though Silque just joined, Cleric is indisputably Faye's best class, and that has to do with 2 clerics being much better than 1. Because white magic requires HP to use, Faye and Silque can heal each other without using provisions, and it'll become more apparent why that's so useful when Silque and Faye learn Warp and Rescue respectively. Finally, Mage Faye does a lot of things similar to Mage Tobin in Act 1. Because female mages have higher base speed than male ones, Faye can easily catch up to Tobin. But their differences comes in their spell lists. While Tobin has insane damage output with Excalibur, Faye excels in dealing with terrors with Seraphim. But, like the case of Pegasus Faye, there just aren't that many terrors on Alm's route to fully utilize anti-terror effects. So, I'll be going with Cleric Faye.
I'll grow however I can to keep you safe, Alm.
Thanks to Mother Mila's blessings, our army is just a little bit stronger. And now, if we venture forth deeper into the dungeon, we'll find some sacred springs, where we can strengthen our units even more. On the left is a speed fountain, and the right has an HP fountain. Of course, it shouldn't come as any surprise with how much I've stressed the importance of speed, that, well, the speed fountain is the obvious choice. But these sacred springs together are limited to 3 uses, and this makes our decision much harder. 1 point of speed can make or break a unit in this game, and this early on, it's nigh impossible to gauge whether or not your units will get stat screwed and miss out on important benchmarks. As you just saw, I gave Tobin 1 point of speed. Even though he's already plenty fast, Tobin's attack speed is actually 3 subtracted from his current stat, and that's because fire weighs him down by 3 points. In Act 1, the benchmark to reliably double most enemies is 5 speed, and since mages always have to consider the weight of their spells, I need Tobin to compensate for fire's weight until he reaches level 6 and learns Excalibur. Normally, I would allocate 2 fountains to Tobin, as his base value is 6. But I got lucky, and Tobin leveled up once in speed, so I have an extra point to work with. Right now, I'm torn between giving a point to Alm or extra speed to Tobin. I would love to make my Alm even faster than he already is. At the pace he's been gaining speed, there's a chance he can reliably wield the lightning sword. But I ultimately chose Tobin. His speed growth is far worse compared to Alm's, and I'd like for Tobin to see some long-term viability in this playthrough. So, hopefully I won't regret this. And for the last point of speed, I'm actually going to preserve it for a unit who joins later on. I don't see any of my current units needing more speed at the moment, and this last fountain use can make our future recruit into an exponentially better fighter.
Greetings, Alm. Have you grown accustomed to all the fighting yet? Ah, of course. I suppose I needn't even have asked. No matter how quiet a village you hail from, in the hands of a capable teacher, one can become every bit as strong as a royal knight. I find that thought quite inspiring. I grew up in the borderlands as well, though not the same as yours. Some in the Deliverance ridicule me for this, calling me a backwater noble. But unlike them, I rose above my origins on my own merits. And as a result, here I stand today. You never can truly tell where life is going to take you, Alm.
You see now how much of a mess the world is outside the village, Alm? Just going into town with Pa for supplies used to be a fight for survival. I worry a little place like Graham won't last long in times like these. Honestly, I really don't care one way or another about the kingdom. I don't have the kind of direction you do. It's more like I just have a nagging desire to do something. So I thought if I joined the Deliverance, I might figure out what that is.
Now that we've defeated the Brigand Boss, the thieves have deserted their shrine. At least for now. Even though we drove out their leader, more Brigands will respawn in this dungeon if you re-enter it. How they managed to reappear is probably a stone best left unturned. Anyways, that marks our first dungeon clear, and we are now one step closer to proving our worth as soldiers of the Deliverance. Next time on Fire Emblem Echoes, we continue our journey to the Southern Outpost.